Welcome to Books and Coffee Chat, the podcast where we dive into the stories you love, the characters you can't stop thinking about, and the plot twists that leave you speechless. Every week, grab your coffee and join us for real, fun, and spoiler-free conversations about books that everyone's talking about. Let's get started.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into the extraordinary life of Carrie Soto. Her name just echoes with, ruthless dedication and unbreakable will to win, and maybe the most singular focus in all of tennis history.
Absolutely. That focus is key.
We've pulled together a really compelling narrative that gives us an unprecedented look into her journey, right? From a childhood prodigy to that legendary comeback.
Yeah, it's quite a story.
So our mission today is to really try and understand what it means to be driven by that kind of all-consuming desire, to be the greatest.
Yeah.
And explore the profound costs and maybe some surprising revelations that come with it.
There are definitely costs. And surprises, too.
Get ready for some deeply insightful moments, I think. Things that will probably spark a few aha moments for you about what greatness and maybe true purpose actually looks like.
All right.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting, right? Carrie's intense drive, it wasn't just like born. It feels like it was meticulously cultivated, almost ingrained from day one.
Yeah, absolutely cultivated. And at the heart of it, you have her father, Javier Soto.
El Jaguar.
El Jaguar, right?
Yeah.
He was a former pro himself.
He was renowned for his just unwavering technical commitment. He even famously said something like, "I don't know how to play tennis without giving my best."
Wow. Even in club matches.
Apparently so. That was his baseline, which is pretty intense. And it's fascinating because his singular vision for Carrie, this almost mythic belief he had in her destiny, really became the foundation of her whole identity. He met Carrie's mother, who was actually a graceful dancer, and she had quite different values. She prioritized kindness, happiness for Carrie, not so much fame.
A different perspective entirely.
Completely.
Yeah.
She apparently once quipped, "Nobody enters history just for that." So different from Javier.
Yeah.
But his belief in Carrie's destiny, it was just unshakable.
He called her Achilles, right?
He did, yeah. He'd say things like, "With your elegance and my strength, she can be the greatest tennis player the world has ever seen. She will still make history."
Which really brings up a big question for you listening. To what extent was Carrie's focus in all history really her own intrinsic drive versus, an inheritance, a path laid out for her from birth?
That is a profound question. And the narrative really leans into this idea that her earliest interactions with tennis were almost, preordained.
It does feel that way sometimes.
Like we hear that as a baby, she'd cry to be back on the court, trying to follow the ball. And barely walking, she hits her first ball squarely.
Right. And her mother's observation on that is so interesting.
What did she say?
Something like, that's the same as saying Achilles was a great warrior because he lived in a time of war. Achilles was a great warrior because he was destined for it.
So acknowledging the destiny part, but maybe questioning the cause.
Exactly. It hints at this maybe natural connection she had, even if her father was the one actively sculpting it.
And his training philosophy. Sounds simple, but brutal.
Very much so. Advocating the beauty and simplicity of doing things the way they've always been done, only better. Endless repetition.
Until the movements became like breathing.
Yeah, instinctual. So her mind, as he put it, could be free to think about everything else. The strategy, the opponent. It's that idea, isn't it? Physical mastery, freeing the mind for strategic dominance. That's so key to Carrie. But her early life had these huge shaping moments, too.
Like her mother's death.
Tragically, yes, hit by a car. It left Carrie with only this hazy, almost ghostly memory of her mother saying, "Don't accept being called a warrior. You are a queen."
Wow, that's a stark contrast to Javier's Achilles nickname.
Completely conflicting identities being pushed on her, right, from such a young age. And then socially, she really struggled.
Because she always won.
Yeah, she was always winning, but she couldn't grasp why it made other kids play less with her. She felt confused, like she was, doing something wrong just by being good.
So you can feel the pressure building from such a young age. That relentless conditioning. It wasn't just physical then, was it? How did those early perceptions about herself and others play out as she got older?
Well, she apparently saw herself as stocky, wide shoulders, not like the beautiful Mary Louise Bryant, another young player.
body image issues even then.
Absolutely. And her father, always the motivator, right? He'd counter that by saying, my body was made for war.
Reinforcing that singular purpose again.
Exactly. And you see her strategic mind developing incredibly early. There's a story about a match against Mary Louise Bryant when they were just 11.
What happened?
Carrie apparently planned to, quote, mess with her head early on.
At 11, wow.
Yeah, she actually lost that match, but the mindset was already there. That drive to dominate mentally, not just physically. It shows how deep that connection was right from the start.
So Carrie's childhood really just becomes training and more training and more training. It sounds all-consuming. But what did it actually take to reach the very top with that level of focus?
Well, the commitment was absolutely relentless. It meant sacrificing, typical teenage stuff.
Like relationships.
Yeah, there's mention of a brief secret relationship with a boy named Marco. He saw her as obsessed with tennis.
And how did she see it?
She defined it as being committed to winning. A subtle but telling difference, right? Shows where her priority, her focus, truly lay.
And this led to her just shooting up the ranks.
Oh, incredibly fast. A swift rise in the juniors. She became this new phenomenon. Her father was apparently proudly displaying headlines like, newcomer Carrie Soto continues unbeaten. And this period is just an incredible testament to deliberate, almost obsessive practice. But it's also where her infamous war axe persona really gets cemented.
Ah, yes, the war axe. Where did that come from?
A lot of it stemmed from her fierce rivalry with Polina Stepanova. Carrie apparently felt constantly challenged, and she was like foaming with rage and in private about it.
So it wasn't just about winning, it was dominance.
Precisely. And to get an edge, she spent months perfecting her slice shot.
The slice, that's interesting. Why the slice?
It was designed to take all the speed out of her game, turn it into a deadly shot. In an era moving towards power, her slice was disruptive. It wasn't just technique, it was psychological warfare.
Undoing her opponent's rhythm.
Exactly, taking away their pace. And it culminated in this really controversial incident where her slice apparently led to Stepanova twisting her ankle.
Ouch. And that cemented the nickname.
It seems to be the moment, yeah. Cemented the war axe nickname and her reputation for just implacable tactics. Ruthless.
Okay, so by 1978, her father's famous, right? His book, The Beauty of Fundamentals, is out. He's achieved his dreams, seemingly.
It looks that way. But Carrie, despite her success, felt her own dreams were still unrealized.
What was missing?
She proclaimed, I want to break the all-time Grand Slam record. That was the goal. To be the best by all parameters. Nothing less.
Always pushing for more.
Always. Which led her to seek out Lars van der Berg as a new coach. Because her father's actually expressed doubts about her hitting that #1 spot.
He doubted her after everything.
It seems so. And Lars focused on advanced physical conditioning, which appealed to her ambition. His promise was stark, something like, if I am your coach and you don't become #1, it will be a shame for me.
Intense pressure.
Right. And this led to a really painful confrontation with her father.
Hey.
She asked him point blank if he believed she could truly beat Stepanova, surpass her.
And what did he say?
He said, I don't know.
Wow. That must have cut deep.
Absolutely. Years of certainty just gone. And that, I don't know, led to the break. She basically said, I'm talking to my coach now, and dismissed him from her life.
Just like that.
Just like that. It just starkly shows the personal cost of that singular focus. Pursuing that focus in all history meant alienating the person who literally built her.
It shows how the very things that made her a champion also created this unyielding image.
Yeah.
And maybe a very lonely life.
Exactly. The war axe persona wasn't just for the court.
So she reaches the summit, makes history. But what happens then? What happens when the mountain demands more than you can actually give? By 82, she'd done it. World #1 for 30 weeks, big wins against Stepanova.
She achieved the goal.
But the narrative describes this solitary champagne celebration. Just her, alone. That image really stays with you, doesn't it?
It does. It speaks volumes about the emptiness that can follow that kind of singular achievement.
What does it mean to get everything you thought you wanted and still feel hollow?
Well, it really highlights that psychological toll, doesn't it? When your entire identity is built around one thing, what happens when you achieve it? Or, as we see later, when you physically can't do it anymore?
Right. You see her grappling with this huge void, struggling to define herself beyond tennis.
Yeah. But interestingly, around this time, there's a little glimmer of reconciliation with her father. He started calling daily.
Oh, what do they talk about?
He actually opened up about missing her mother, shared her mother's belief that, being happy was more important than tennis.
Softening.
A definite softening. He even tried to give her relationship advice, encouraging a nice guy. It's quite poignant, trying to connect on a different level after all those years of just tennis focus.
But her personal life takes another huge dramatic turn with the Brandon Randall affair.
Ah, yes. The married ATP #1. The nice guy of tennis, ironically.
Right. She got involved with him secretly
Mm.
and apparently felt this profound sense of belonging, thinking, I have everything I ever wanted, followed by, like, a perfect idiot.
And then the tabloids caught them. Huge public scandal.
How bad was it?
Really bad. Tarnished her image completely, lost endorsements, ticket sales dropped. Paparazzi hounding her, asking vile things like, how does it feel to be called a slut? Just brutal public humiliation.
A world away from the controlled court environment.
And if the public wasn't enough, her body started betraying her. By 88, the knee pain was severe, constant injections just to play.
She didn't win anything that year, did she?
No, not a single tournament. A clear sign of physical decline. And her father, with that characteristic brutal honesty.
What did he say this time?
He told her her expiration date had arrived. She was 31. And he said he wouldn't train an inferior version of her. He urged surgery.
But she refused.
Stubbornly, yeah. Tried Wimbledon without him, didn't get past the round of 16. Her ranking plummeted. It's that ultimate betrayal, isn't it? When your body, the tool of your life's focus, just gives out.
So retirement became inevitable.
Pretty much. August 1989, age 31, she officially announced it. Publicly, she said she'd conquered everything I wanted, that her achievements will be remembered. But privately, we know it was forced.
She wasn't ready to leave.
Not on her terms, which raises that critical question again. What happens when that singular focus defining your whole life is just gone? How do you redefine yourself?
Such a powerful point.
Huh.
But as you said, the story doesn't end there. 5 years later, something sparks a comeback.
Yeah, an old rival lights a new fire. October 1994, she's 37, and Nikki Chan is about to break her Grand Slam record.
And that just reignites the ambition, that specific historical focus.
It seems so. Her declaration was audacious. I will interrupt my retirement to reclaim the world record for most Grand Slam singles.
Incredible. But the physical reality must have been harsh.
Oh, completely. Slower, tired faster, her knee cartilage literally creaking. The body remembers those years. But what's so fascinating about this comeback is that it's not just about the record. It feels like it's about reclaiming her purpose, her very reason for being.
And it brings her father back into the picture.
It does. A poignant reunion. Javier returns as her coach, back to the demanding training, pushing her faster, don't stop, even though he was dealing with his own health issues by then.
She saw him returning to his purpose, too.
Exactly. She observed him returning to the work that defined him. It became this shared legacy again, not just her personal quest.
And this comeback also brought new people, new dynamics into her life, right?
Yeah.
Expanding her world a bit.
Definitely. Gwen Davis, her agent for years, became more of a confidant, offering practical advice, TV commentary, WTA roles, but also subtly pushing her to build a life beyond tennis, to, have someone in your life.
And Bo Huntley, the former bad boy.
Yeah, Gwen suggested him as a training partner, another aging player looking for relevance. Their dynamic started off sarcastic, apparently, but he became her best option.
And he was quite direct with her.
Incredibly frank.
Oh.
About her emotional side, her fear of not being the Carrie Soto she thinks she is. That must have been a tough mirror. It really must have been. And the public scrutiny was just as intense, maybe more so.
What were they saying?
Media calling her the war axe, or worse, the bitch. Openly predicting failure at 37, her father was furious for her.
How did Carrie handle it?
With this surprising, almost weary self-awareness, she acknowledged, basically, when I decided to play professionally, I apparently signed a contract allowing people to talk shit about me for the rest of my life.
Wow. Even commentators.
The source mentions a commentator calling her a bitch on national TV. It just shows the complex, often cruel relationship society has with aging female athletes. The expectation to just fade away or scorn if you dare return.
So her first match back, Australian Open 95.
Against Medlinka Dvosheva, Javier tells her to scare everyone on that court, and she wins decisively. But the really moving part, the crowd's applause wasn't just for her, it was for her father. A real shift.
And she stood up for the pioneers, too.
She did. After some disrespectful comments from Ingrid Cortez, she reminded her, I acknowledge that I am only here because of these giants. showing this growing sense of legacy beyond herself.
Even though she lost to Cortez later.
Yeah, lost in the quarters, devastated personally, saw it as failure. But her father called it reason for pride, though he did note her continued impatience.
That past to history, it's never straight, is it? Full of joy and just profound heartbreak for Carrie. Despite losing in Australia, she kept training relentlessly, even on clay, her weaker surface, using 2 ball machines.
The dedication was still there. But the journey was also deepening those personal connections. Bo Huntley got injured at Roland Garros but stayed to support her, their bond strengthening, a new kind of companionship.
Mm-hmm. And then the devastating news about her father.
Yeah. Javier collapsed, needed heart surgery. But he insisted she go to Wimbledon, pleaded with her, please don't miss Wimbledon, please do it for me.
Oh, wow.
He confessed seeing her play, seeing her do what you love, made him happy. He urged her, do it for me, for my heart. It really shifts her focus again, doesn't it? From just her record to this tribute to him, the man who started it all.
And she did it for him. She won Wimbledon again, her 10th title, beating Antonovich.
An incredible victory under those circumstances.
But the win also brought some unexpected personal revelations.
Yeah, Gwen confided in Carrie about her own divorce and sleeping with Bo. It's this strange moment where Gwen's life seems to be mirroring Carrie's the complexities of ambition and personal connection.
And then that encounter with the men's champion.
Right, Jadran Petrovic. He apparently dismissed her titles because women play best of 3 sets, not best of 5 like the men.
Seriously, even then.
Oh, yeah. It ignited her war axe fire all over again, just showed the sexism still deeply ingrained in the sport, even at the very top. And then the ultimate heartbreak. Javier died, suddenly, before the U.S. Open.
Devastating.
Utterly.
Wow.
Bo stayed by her side, just being there. But despite the raw grief, Carrie chose to play the U.S. Open, in her father's honor.
A testament to their bond and his influence.
Absolutely. And the crowd's reaction was incredible. A roaring, standing ovation specifically for Javier. It brought Carrie to tears, realizing, as she put it, everyone in the arena misses Javier Soto as much as I do.
A moment of shared grief, shared respect.
Exactly. And maybe a deeper understanding for her of his impact. She played those early rounds fueled by this profound, almost spiritual purpose, just dominate.
Which leads to the final showdown,
Oh.
U.S. Open final against Nikki Chan.
The match everyone was waiting for.
It goes to a 3rd set tiebreaker, a total nail-biter. Carrie looks at her father's last notes for the match, mostly illegible, but one clear phrase.
What was it?
Carrie is able to beat her. Defiant, even then.
Wow. And Nikki Chan, on the verge of breaking the record, she acknowledged Carrie too, didn't she?
She did. Said something profound. I only have a chance to improve if I face your best. You reappeared at the right time, for me.
Acknowledging Carrie's role in her own journey.
Exactly. And Carrie, in turn, acknowledged Nikki's game, her understanding of the ball, played instinctively, maybe letting go of that iron control for once.
And the result?
Carrie lost. Nikki Chan broke the record, officially surpassed Carrie Soto.
And Carrie's immediate reaction, not rage, not devastation, but simply, she deserves it.
That's a huge shift. That's not the war axe.
Not at all. And a year later, watching Nikki win again, she has this even deeper realization. She recognizes it's a privilege to be able to guide a person to a certain point and then let them finish everything alone.
Seeing a new purpose emerge. Mentoring.
Exactly, her ultimate realization. She is no longer the greatest tennis player of all time. For the first time in her life, she can be something else. It's this profound evolution of her personal focus in all history.
From making history to shaping it differently.
Precisely. Her father's death, Bo, Gwen, facing Nikki, it all led her to see her value beyond trophies. It's about influence, forging paths, maybe shaping new talent, moving from Achilles, the warrior, towards that queenly guiding role her mother perhaps saw all along.
So what does this incredible journey mean for us listening to this? Carrie Soto's life really makes you wonder, right? When your whole existence is dedicated to one singular focus in all history, what actually happens when that history is made, or even surpassed? What remains?
Exactly. What's left when the relentless chase stops? And how do we find meaning in a legacy that goes beyond just, the numbers? What is the real victory in the end? Well, Carrie Soto definitely reminds us that true impact, maybe it's found not just in the records you break, but in the paths you create for others, the inspiration you give, and perhaps in the quiet acceptance of your own ever-evolving story. It leaves us with a really provocative thought, doesn't it? If your life's singular focus defines you, how do you redefine yourself when that focus inevitably changes, whether you choose it or circumstances force it? And what new history might you actually be able to write then?
And that's a wrap for today's Books and Coffee Chat. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow book lovers. Got a book suggestion or a hot take? Drop it in the comments. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. See you next time, and don't forget, keep reading and keep